Welcome to OGB Talk Show where we keep it real, holy, and raw. So yes, this episode we're talking about ready to love, predictions and lessons learned. And you'll want to stay tuned because you are going to have some valuable relationship tips to take with you. And I also want to hear what you have to say. Join the conversation. Make sure you join our OGB family because we're always up to something good over here. So let's jump right on in with the couple KJ and Amber. So yes, these two. So let me begin with KJ. I think he presents himself in his first impression. He comes across as such a gentleman. And I like that he is very balanced. And what I mean by that is I think he has a nice balance of both masculinity as well as being in touch with his softer side as a man. He knows how to treat a woman, and I really admire men that have that perfect combo right there. Okay. And so I really think that he is a gentleman. I like the way I've seen him handle his relationship and handle himself, and also even the challenges he went through on the first show where the young lady kind of flipped on him. He stayed in character, and that's a lot to say because a lot of males who aren't mature, they would have just flipped out, wouldn't have been able to take that, but not KG. He was still cool, calm, and collected through the whole thing. And so I definitely, pray that he finds his misses. And now Miss Amber, I will say KJ and Amber, they seem like they get along so well the whole season. These two have been a good example of what a budding friendship looks like in a healthy relationship. And that is definitely a tip that we have to take away from them. A sign that you're in a healthy relationship, in a healthy dating relationship, is that it's almost like effortless. It's like your friendship, your flow is so natural. It's like they're becoming your best friend, someone you can talk to, someone you can be real with. Y'all rarely have any disagreements. And if you do have a disagreement, you each know how to talk to each other and work through it. I mean, that right there to me is the solid foundation of any healthy romantic relationship. If you all got a solid friendship and then you know how to talk through things, that is definitely a winning sign that this person can possibly be the one. Okay, because if you all are always at each other and can't seem to resolve and just a bunch of friction, I would say pause, and you may want to really see if you all are meant to be together. And if you are meant to be together, you all better get some counseling or something before you walk down the aisle to learn how to flow with each other. Because if you don't have that natural flow and friendship and respect and know how to work through things before you walk down that aisle, you're going to have a lot of problems in your marriage. And so, and a lot of people don't know how to work through it. And so you'll end up putting yourself in a position of being in a divorce, and that's not God's will. And it can put you in a situation where you try to marry again, which will put you in adultery, because marriage is for life. So you want to make sure that before you walk down that aisle, at least for a couple of years, a year or two, that you have a good friendship. You get along with each other. You know how to walk through things. This is a life decision. You should not just rush into it because it has lasting impact on you and your soul. Okay. So yes, make sure you check this other video so you'll learn more about the impact it has on your soul. So yes, but yeah, all in all, I think KG and Amber, they definitely have gotten along very well. I do believe that they will still be together at the reunion. Now, Amber, I'm still a little question mark there about her, just because it just seems like little rumors swooping around that, with her and between her and Ron, and just how she addressed some of the issues, they weren't really clear. So it's almost like she's using her attorney way of kind of covering up things. So it's making her come across as a little sneaky. And it kind of makes me question how genuine she is with everything. It does seem like it's a real connection. His brothers were going into trying to make sure, is this real? But really only time will tell. But I do believe that they will be still together at the reunion. And I see that KG has a spiritual side to him. And I mean, I really would love to see him really have a close relationship to Christ. I believe he's more into that new agey stuff. But, you know, I pray that he would find God as his Lord and Savior. All right, y'all. So let's see now. Let's go to our next couple here. Vernicia and Joel. And there are more lessons to be learned, okay? So, Vernicia and Joel. I got to tell you, Joel is definitely very charismatic. He definitely has a charismatic type personality. This season of men, there weren't too many. If I was, you know, kind of single looking in, that kind of really drew my attention. Out of all of them, I would say he probably would have been someone maybe that I might have been interested in. But for the most part, I didn't think they had a really strong group of men. But anyway, that's another side note. But he's definitely very charismatic, very flirtatious, and with all the women. But, you know, you can tell that, you know, from what we've seen, that his main interest was Vernicia. Vernicia is a beautiful woman, by the way. Seems to be a beautiful woman, seems to be very down-to-earth type personality. And yeah, you know, they definitely look good together. Now, let's go deeper. Okay? Let's go deeper. I think that was very telling when his sister said, I feel like she likes you more than you like her. And then the niece was saying, and yeah, you remember that's the same way you felt about your wife, you know, that she actually was more into you than you were into her from the beginning. So my questions, and I want to hear you all's answers too in the comments. Is it an issue, or you think, when a woman is more into the man than she is into him? Okay, you know, and I remember hearing a pastor say it's better that you get to a relationship with a man that loves you more than you love him. And I can see the wisdom in that, you know, I guess that's whoever it is less of a risk on the person that's with somebody who loves them more. And a lot of times, with the difference of the dynamics between men and women, I do believe there can be a difference in the loyalty. Whereas most women, even I tend to, even when they've done studies, not that it's a gigantic difference, but it seems to be a difference where they seem to be more loyal and more faithful. And so I can see where the benefit can come in for a woman, since she's already naturally, for the most part, more loyal, is to have somebody more into her, which will increase, hopefully, the chances of him being more loyal and committed into the relationship. Now, I personally like it where the guy is just as much into me, you know, or more so as I am into him. However, that's not what gives me the red flags here. The red flags to me was when he did not call her and say, hey, you know, Vernicia, plans have changed. I decided to do such and such. And then he didn't seem to understand why she was upset. To me, that was a red flag. Like, okay, you feel like you already got me and you already taking me for granted and we're not even in a relationship? And then to top it off, when me and you got into it, you're going to choose somebody else who happens to be a good friend of mine? And so, look, and everybody is free to choose who they want. But for me, those were two red flags. Between Vernicia and Joel. I don't think they're together today. I'm gonna be honest. If Vernicia loves herself, as I believe she do, I hope her eyes open up and realize that Joel is a nice, flirtatious, friendly guy. He is an excellent guy friend. Joel is the type of guy that you would like to have as your friend as a female, okay? And I love my male friends. As a spouse, a little too friendly for me. And so I don't think these two gonna still be together, because I think at some point Vernicia is going to recognize that she wants more than what he's offering, okay, as a woman. And when you're talking about seriously dating someone that you're considering for marriage, you do want the real thing. You want somebody who is all the way into you. So much so they into you that a blind man can see it, okay? That's the type of love that you want, because marriage is serious business. Why should you waste your time on somebody that kinds of like you? Why should you waste your time on being with somebody that you're one somebody in the world where you could be with a man that's like, baby, you are my world? And so I believe that she deserves more. She deserves more. She deserves more than what she is accepting here in this relationship. And I know I saw pieces of her live where she was, saying, well, oh, off screen, he really did pursue me and da 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 da. And I'm sure he did. I believe her. However, those two things that we saw flashed on the TV, those were some serious red flags, and would say, hey, I deserve better. I deserve better. I deserve better in my love life. So yeah, that's kind of like my feedback on these two. And the takeaway lesson here from this couple is this: ladies and gentlemen, you deserve somebody who thinks the world of you, who really values you, who's really into you. That's the type of person that you want to even consider going down the aisle with and making that type of lifetime commitment. Okay? All right. So let's now, who we got next? Oh boy. Kyra and Aj. And this picture here, if you look closely, this alone says a lot. Kyra and Aj. So where shall I begin? So we all know that these two already had a rocky start, right? With the bad date. And one thing about me, I'm kind of like, if I had a date that I would consider it was that bad, this probably would just be a no-go for me. Take that warning sign and keep it moving. But at the same time, she might have not thought it was that big of deal to her. So she kind of was going to give him another chance, a second chance. This is really weird because a lot of the viewers, in the situation here, a lot of viewers thought that Kyra was more into Aj than she was into Jason. And so it kind of threw everybody for a loop that when Jason didn't choose Kyra, it seems then that all of a sudden she was less interested in Aj. And now I know all along with her mouth, she was saying Jason is her number one, but the interactions we saw, it seemed like in her heart, Aj was her number one, is how it came across to the viewers. Many of the viewers have seen this and heard it. And so it was definitely very confusing. And so I want to say this, ladies, because I try not to, especially when it's something, to be careful, because these are real people. And I just, I have a small channel, so they may never even see this, but still I try to be sensitive to that. Maturity. Sometimes we think we are mature. I remember, honey, you couldn't tell me in my 20s I wasn't mature, okay? And actually, I was not as mature as I thought I was. Okay. And I wasn't as open. I didn't even realize till in my 30s that I was emotionally unavailable. I wouldn't really allow myself to get close to men. You know, it was shallow. I would keep them on the out. I didn't realize I was doing that until I was in my 30s, and one day it just kind of clicked like, girl, you ain't allowing bonding to happen with anybody. And I can't remember exactly what made it click, but it did. And so I feel like in this situation, if this young lady was to listen to this, that I would suggest that she get some counseling and some inner work, because emotional maturity, and I touched on this in the beginning, you're able to disagree agreeably with others and move on with your life. The way that thing, how it went, and maybe we're missing some pieces of this puzzle that hopefully in the reunion they will answer, but I'm still flabbergasted about why, you know, Kyra and Jason, what was all the hoopla? Why was it so toxic? Why did it have to have a toxic ending? It was unnecessary. She even stated herself, Kyra stated that she felt a distance between she and Jason. Kyra stated that she thought she was going to be eliminated because she couldn't make a choice. So it really wasn't that big of a surprise to her that Jason may have possibly started falling for Liz, because she mentioned that. And even the editing and what they showed, it looked like his Jason's bond with Liz was getting stronger and his bond with Kyra was getting weaker. And I don't know, because what she did in trying to protect her heart, and it's okay, baby, you do what you want to do. At the same time, recognize that the gentlemen going to do what they want to do as well. She was protecting her heart, and I really don't think she ever emotionally, because you know, physically, I believe, and we share and teach on this channel as the teach in the Bible, sex is for marriage, okay? But so emotionally, though, Kyra was still on first base with Jason. Yeah, there was an initial attraction. Yeah, we have some things alike. Yeah, we get along with surface things. But I really don't know you. And I really don't know if how much you want to get to know me. And so because Kyra and Jason never made it off of first base with their emotional intimacy, it was hard for him to really determine if something more was there. Whereas in the situation with Liz and Jason, Liz was more open. You know, Liz was so much more open to the process and allowing, him to come in, allowing him to share his feelings with her. She shared her feelings with him. So they were able to move from first base emotionally and create a stronger bond. And so, so I hope Kyra realizes that in love, you will have to come to a place at some point of being vulnerable. And I understand this show may not have been enough time for Kyra to be able to express that or to get what she needed. This probably was just not the show for her. Okay, but the thing that I want her to take away from it, you don't have to make all this drama and hoopla. Even if, and I think her ex was insightful when he said she has a hard time overcoming things and issues. And I do believe that was demonstrated here, because from what I gathered is she felt like he may have said something about who she is, that she was disingenuous, and she didn't like that because she was really taking this seriously. I understand that. Nobody wants to, if they're being lied on, nobody wants to be lied on. I get that. At the same time, this could be someone else's perception. And they could have been fearful of sharing that to you, not knowing how you will respond. So the proper way to than to rain on someone else's parade or to lose your emotional control. This is where emotional maturity comes in, ladies. Listen, take in the information, congratulate the woman. Well, congratulations. And then if you had an issue with him, deal with that issue with him behind, you talk to him, not, say, hey, in the deliberation, it said I was being ingenuous towards you. And I thought that you said that everything was cool with you and I. What's going on? And all you can do at that point is say, well, hey, I just want to reiterate again that truly I was taking this process seriously. I just was not at the point to make a decision. And I do apologize if you felt that way, but that was not my true intentions. And that's it. And let it go. The best, and tell them, may the best be with you and this other young lady. And keep it moving. Because at the end of the day, we cannot control how someone sees us or feel about us. So you have to be okay with somebody maybe viewing you in a different light, even though it may not be real. If they choose to believe what they want to believe, even after you have apologized, even after you said your piece, then you got to move on. You know what I'm saying? You move on with your life, but you want to leave people better than you find them. The drama, all of that is very childish. People have went through harsher, real stuff. You all weren't in a relationship. Even if he changed his mind, he had the right to change his mind. He's not married to any of you. So he got the right to change his mind as many times as he wants to until he makes that commitment to God and that woman. I'm gonna be with you for all of my life. Now that's when we talking about, that's a difference, because he married you. He went into covenant with you, and that's the difference between marriage and dating. Okay, and so yeah, but this man, and listen, with this show, which I wouldn't go on no show like this, but with this show, you already have all of y'all put yourself out there that you may be competing with other people. You may not be the one chosen. These were all the things that mentally you just have to prepare yourself to accept. And I talk about this in another video, and I'll link it there. Can women accept rejections? Because we be talking about the man can't accept rejection. Some of these women can't accept rejection. Now, thank goodness a lot of times they're not as deadly as some of the things men will do, but they can be just as traumatizing. They hate on the other woman. They want to, despise your relationship, be hateful, especially to the other woman, that the man may have chosen because it wasn't them. You're not everybody type. Or someone the same way you wasn't ready to choose that person, you weren't into them enough to make that choice. They were not into you enough to wait on you. Now you did have one person that was into you enough to wait on you, and that was AJ, the one that it appeared that you were more into, but evidently you still were not ready. So another good lesson we learned from Kyra is that it's okay to walk away when you know the person is not what you want or you need in the relationship. And I think that's a valuable lesson, because sometimes we as women, because of our kind heart, we may stay with somebody out of pity and never stay with someone out of pity. I remember when my older cousin told me that, I was in elementary school or something like that. She said, don't ever stay with somebody out of pity. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to, tell them you're really not interested. Let me tell you, when it's talking about relationship, when it's talking about love in your life, someone you want to be with, that person deserves somebody who's all the way into them, just like you deserve someone who's all the way into you. Don't fall in love with how they love you alone. Fall in love with that person because you really love the essence of who they are. And if that is not the case, and then you can see with these two, to me, they were a good example of an unhealthy relationship that should not have moved forward. They were the opposite of Jason and Liz, or the opposite of, we hadn't touched on Jason and Liz yet, I'm sorry. They were the opposite of Amber and KJ. Amber and KJ, their connection was effortless. They got along very well. They were able to talk through their differences. AJ and Kyra, the rumor was that it came out that they would have a lot of disagreements. Even the way he would kind of talk to her sometimes was a little bit rough. You know, he wasn't very, what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't very endearing to her emotionally at some points, like when she wanted reassurance of certain things. Like, for instance, when they met up after he did finally decide change his mind and decided to choose her. And she was like, well, you know, I want to know if you really into me. And he was like, well, if that doesn't show you, then I don't know what will. It was like his words. And that wasn't the most romantic or the most comforting thing, the way he said it. So he's just kind of a little rough on the edge in the way that he talks to her. And I think she wants something, someone more gentle. She liked, and that was probably something that she liked about Jason, was Jason's ability to use his words to make a woman really feel valued and honored. Whereas AJ, that wasn't his natural bent. You know, he seemed to come across a little bit coarse, you know, at times. And it could have been too, because Kyra was more in tune with her masculine energy than in her feminine energy. And that's another thing. You have to have that right balance, especially when you are in a relationship with a man. You know, the more that you are, because I saw more of AJ's gentle masculine side when he was relating to the other lady, though, that was somebody else's wife. So that's not a good relationship, because we know on this channel that marriage is for life. And so as long as that spouse is alive, you off the market, even if y'all divorced, according to the Bible, because Christ called it adultery. But you got to see his more gentle side on that, okay? So Kyra, because she had this masculine energy of wanting to defend herself, speak up for herself, do all of this, it kind of didn't really nurture his softer masculine side to come through. And so this was really, they didn't look good together. They looked good together, but they weren't operating like a healthy couple. And I truly do believe, as a woman that want to be in a heterosexual relationship, that it's important that we know how to walk in our feminine power. Of how God made us to be. He made us a woman on purpose, and those differences are a beautiful thing that should blend together well with a man, you know, letting him be his masculine self, you know, treating you with that love and that respect. I really think that AJ, though he was smitten by her, he wanted to see where the relationship would go. But, you know, Kyra wasn't ready to make that decision, and that's respectful that she didn't waste any more of his time. And that, you know, and it's also respectable that AJ, he went for what he wanted. You know what I'm saying? He didn't just choose somebody because they wanted him. He went after what he wanted. And I respect him for that. And that's how you should be. Don't waste somebody's time. If you're not really into that person, don't waste their time. So lesson from this couple right here is, this is what you don't want. Arguing and fighting and fussing and not really getting along. Not a good relationship. Move on peacefully. All right. And so that brings us to Liz and Jason. Okay. All righty. Now, oh, wait a minute. Hold up. One last thing. No, maybe I'll touch on that later. Liz and Jason. Okay. And I could definitely relate to Liz. You know, she is a confessing believer of her faith. She's practicing abstinence. And y'all know, watch my channel, I practice abstinence for 34 years. Watch this video where I tell you lessons learned before and after I said I do. But yeah. You know, so Liz, I really feel like she carried herself like a lady from beginning to end on the show. Whoop, whoop. And I appreciate that you represented the Christian women well. Only thing is all that kissing, because y'all know I believe kissing too is for your husband, not for a boyfriend. Be ye holy as I am holy, said the Lord. But yes, I really do like the way she did overall, though, represent herself. Now, Jason. Jason. How can I say this? I understood what Kyra mean when she was like, okay, I'm seeing like the Jason I got to know and the Jason you got to know is two different people, two different persons. And I guess she's talking about, the sexual side that, that Jason talked about sex and wanting to have sex. And he didn't say he didn't want to have sex in the situation with Liz. He just said that he was willing to wait. And so, I don't see that as such a dynamic. But one of the things I did want to touch on, because I've had this happen to me before as a woman who's practiced abstinence. I remember when I was dating my little Morehouse boyfriend, and this girl that had came around him for Freaknik weekend, he was trying to emotionally cheat on me, I guess. I recall it. And she was like, how y'all in a relationship anyway? Y'all not even having sex. And it's like, ladies, newsflash, having sex with a man don't make him mean you in no relationship. Matter of fact, the man can like the woman more who he's not having intimacy with. So don't play yourself and save yourself, okay, from the drama. But I just thought that was so funny how Kyra was like, I don't know how this is gonna work when they're not having sex. And when a man really loves a woman, he will do what needs to be done to win her heart and keep her heart. So that's what I'll say to that. But yeah, I feel like Jason always presented himself as a gentleman whenever he was dealing with either one of the ladies. I do feel that. I think that he is sincere in his feelings towards Liz. Now, everybody's been saying, well, if Kyra had shown back the same interest or chosen him, he would have chosen her because Kyra was the one that he first seemed to be into. And I will say, I agree. I do believe that if Kyra had given him, since he had a stronger connection with Kyra early on, you know what I'm saying? What happened is him and Liz were on home base when him and Kyra were on more like a first base. And so I do believe that if at that moment when they were on first base, if Kyra has started allowing them to move on emotionally to second base, that yeah, his connection would have stayed stronger and growing with Kyra, and he probably would have chosen her. But what ended up happening is him and Liz were able to migrate from home base. Then they got to first base, and right where he was with Kyra, and he's like, okay. So now he's looking to see if there's going to be more of connection with him and Kyra. But instead of them being able to get off of first base emotionally, that's where they were stuck at. He couldn't get any more from her because she seemed torn between him and AJ. So in the meantime, while she was torn between him and AJ, and they could not deepen their emotional bond from first base, him and Liz were able to bond emotionally and move from first base to second base. So then she starts feeling this distance, yes, because he's drawing closer to Liz. He still had an opening for you. In the meantime, he's able to advance his relationship with Liz, whereas he can't advance with you because you're stuck between him and AJ. So you got to respect that he made his choice that was best for him. Okay? He wasn't into you that much. He wasn't that much into Kyra that he was willing to risk giving up Liz. And that's how you really got to look at it. He had enough bonding with Liz that he was willing to take the risk to move on with her. Okay, and that's just the bottom line. Some of y'all may say Liz was the second choice or whatever in this game. I don't think it's even fair to look at it like that because all of them had these different choices going on. I feel like he always showed Liz the utmost respect. just as it looked like he showed the other young lady the utmost respect until the end she felt she got shorthanded. But yeah, so I believe these two are going to be together at the reunion. I also think that they will be together for a while. Will this lead to down the aisle? I don't know. Should this lead to down the aisle? I got some things I want to talk about when it comes to that. When you are a believer, a Christian woman, it's very essential that you get with a man with serious character. And not just because he say he's saved, that don't mean he's a man of character, because those are some of the worst men you will ever meet is from the church. Okay. But it is important that you truly get with someone that has character. Okay. That truly, truly has a great character about themselves. So I don't know. Some of the things I got to hear more about what happened. Did he just speak too fast when he told Liz within 2 weeks he had already made his decision? Did he lie? Did he fumble? I know he admitted that he may have, spoken too fast. And so it's like, okay, now what went on there? So hopefully we get some clarity at the reunion, so we can see more of his character. And we all make mistakes, so I wouldn't try to bash him if because he was trying to preserve Liz's feelings that he overspoke. I've done that before, overspoke and said stuff. But the most important thing is, will you own up to it? Will you apologize and do what's necessary to make sure that don't happen again? Okay. But yeah, I think he was trying to reassure Liz that it is you that I want. And I definitely believe it is Liz that he wants. That is Liz that he's interested in. Now, are they equally yoked? Most of us are saying no. But I've been seeing Liz on his Instagram, and she seems to be happy with him and wherever level he's at. Okay. And sometimes with women, they feel like if they got a good man, even if he may not be in the same level with them spiritually, they're going to work with it, because it's hard out here to find a man that's actually saved and is masculine. And, it gets to feel like it's almost impossible to find this quote unquote perfect man. So to her, this may be perfect enough. And I think if he's going to be faithful to you, not cheating on you, that's very important to me. And he is going to be willing to grow with you in the Lord. He's not going to hate on your relationship with God or try to hold you back in your walk with the Lord. Perhaps it'll work. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Wow, it seemed like they have chosen each other. She seemed like she's really into him, but he also seems like he's really into her. So to me, this is more of an equal passion couple. We talked about in the beginning where I was telling you, it seemed like Vernicia was more into Joel than he was into her. And y'all know I don't like that for us women. I think that's not the best setup. But in this relationship, you get to see an example here of two people that seem to be equally passionate about each other. They get along, very well. And so that's, that to me is definitely a sign of a healthy relationship. Now, so yes, you also, this is my feedback. I do believe these two are going to be together at the reunion and beyond. So yeah, let me know y'all's predictions in the comments. Also, what lessons you all have learned and your feedback on the lessons that I've shared with you. Okay. And I like to do these type of reviews and shows because we can learn from them and prepare ourselves to receive only God's best in our love life and in every area. Thank you for tuning in today to the OGB Talk Show, where we're keeping it real, holy, and raw. Keeping it real, holy, and raw. Make sure you subscribe because we're always up to something good over here.